From the Opupka Studios in Oklahoma City, you're watching the Press Row. I'm Jenny Carlson here with Barry Trammell. Time for We Pick 'em. We've got 5 games, some college basketball, some professional basketball. Let's get right to it, Barry. Let's start with the Oklahoma State men as they head to West Virginia on Saturday. Who you got in this one?
Well, I'm going to take the Cowboys, but this is not a good spot for OSU. Coming off the disappointing loss, the heartbreaking in many ways loss to Kansas, double overtime. OSU will be fatigued. Guys like Marcus Smart a little banged up. And now you fly across the country, play at West Virginia, an early Saturday game. It's going to be a gut check for the Cowboys. However, they've been playing well on the road. I'll take them in a tight one.
Yeah, I'm taking the Cowboys too in this one, but I think either win or lose against Kansas, this game was bound to be a tough game. If you beat Kansas, you're sort of riding that high, and you're trying to avoid one of those upsets, upset special that West Virginia could spring on you. It seems like it would have been a trap game had they won, but this seems like it's going to have to be a get up and get going for Oklahoma State. If they just play well out of the gate, if they can get that energy started early, I think they'll be in good shape. They're a much better team than West Virginia. They just got to go and play like it. All right, what about this one, Barry? A Saturday afternoon matchup of Bedlam. This one for the women, Oklahoma State. Who you got?
Well, I'm going to take the Cowgirls, and I got to tell you, this is going to be a wild one because you never know what you're going to get, especially with OSU. Cowgirls have played great at times this year, played horribly at times this year. Had a 10-point lead with 5 minutes left in Fort Worth on Wednesday night. Don't score again, lose by 1. So I do think the Cowgirls are going to come out mad. They're going to be upset about the TCU game. I think they're going to be upset about the Bedlam game from a couple of weeks ago when Oklahoma handled them pretty well. Sherry Cole's done a great job with her depleted roster, but the Sooners are shorthanded. I think OSU gets them.
I'm going to go with Oklahoma in this one. I'm somewhat like you. I like to pick the home team, and Oklahoma State's at home. So you kind of go in the Bedlam matchup. You kind of try to lean towards the home team. But Oklahoma State, that loss against TCU to me is just really – I'm down on the Cowgirls. I can't help but say it. I thought they might be a team that could contend for that runner-up spot in the Big 12 and really be a force in the Big 12. And instead, they've just had rough games and at really awful times. And that game against Oklahoma earlier this year, I think, was maybe amongst the worst of their performances. They just got blown out in that game. I think they will be mad. I think they will be motivated. But I still like Oklahoma to win because I'm just not a believer in Oklahoma State at the moment. All right, back to the men's side. Oklahoma has a home game against Baylor. Barry, who you got in this one?
I got the Sooners. Baylor's imploding. The Bears lose at home to Iowa State the other night. Sooners go to Waco a few weeks ago, get a nice win. A lot of basketball is about the matchups, and for whatever reason, the Sooners match up well with Baylor. Sooners are playing very well. Could have won in Stillwater a week ago. Did go to Lubbock and win handily on Wednesday night. I like what Lon Kruger's doing with this team. I think Baylor comes to town and gets a beating. I think the Sooners win.
Yeah, I'm going with Oklahoma as well. They had a nice win at Texas Tech. Obviously Tech not great, but to go on the road and win, I think they took care of their business. And that seems what they're doing right now is taking care of their business, playing pretty well. I know they lost that Bedlam game, but played Oklahoma State fantastically. Took them to overtime in a really hostile environment. I really like what Oklahoma's getting. Obviously, losing Buddy Hield, not what you'd want to see, but they're really recovering nicely. Have a lot of guys playing really well in his absence. Isaiah Cousins needs to get a few more things figured out, but Sam Grooms, he's definitely picking up the slack. So I'm going Oklahoma against Baylor. All right, Barry, what about this one? A Sunday night showdown. Thunder against the Bulls. Who you got?
Well, you know what? The Thunder's in a slump. Let's just be honest. The Thunder's not been playing well in the last couple of weeks. 5-5 in the last 10 games going into Friday night against Minnesota, and really struggling on the road. But I think the Thunder is just going through some of the things you go through in a long NBA season. This NBA season, much longer than a year ago. The 66 game replaced by the 82 game schedule now. I think the Thunder's at some point will snap out of it. I think it'll come at home, and I think against a good solid team like the Bulls will do the trick. Got a couple of defensive demons with the Thunder. who were in Chicago. Thabo Sefolosha is one of them. Looks like Ronnie Brewer's coming on board too. Was once a bull stopper. So I think there's going to be a lot to play for. I think the Thunder gets it done against Chicago.
Yeah, I do too. And I tell you what, if the Bulls had Derrick Rose, if he was healthy and back on the court, I might think differently. That would be a heck of a matchup if they were full strength with Derrick Rose. But they don't have Derrick Rose, it doesn't look like. So I'm going Thunder. I just, for whatever reason, I think whenever they're on home hardwood, if I'm picking, I'm likely going to pick the Thunder. I like their chances at home. They have had their struggles. They don't look to be quite as good as they were a year ago. I think it might be time to admit that as well. You know, you talk about admitting they're in a slump. I think they've shown that they're maybe not quite the team they were a year ago. But I do think against the Bulls, they'll get the job done on Sunday night. Should be a fun game, though, Barry. All right, back to the college hardwood one last time for a game next Wednesday night. Oklahoma takes on Texas, Barry. We've got a huge slew of games on Wednesday night, but this is the best of the best. What about it?
I'm going to take the Sooners. Texas is just a total mess, and Rick Barnes is going to miss the tournament for the first time ever at Austin. Not done a good job. That team's not meshed. Going to finish it, down in about the 8th spot in the Big 12. Sooners are playing well. I think Oklahoma wins.
Yeah, I do too. I'm going with the Sooners in this one. Yeah, Texas by far one of the bigger disappointments in the league. Obviously played without a star for much of the season, which is going to affect any team, but just not seeing a lot of signs of life. They look, Barry, we've talked about them before, they look like a team that should be better. When you see them run out on the court, you think, well, this looks like a Texas team from years past. They're probably going to be pretty good. And they just haven't been able to find it, and I don't think they're going to find it Wednesday night against Oklahoma. I'm going with the Sooners. Hey, be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.